3 higher ed authors, 100 plus college and university presidents, dozens of actionable insights for academic leaders. Commencement, the beginning of a new era in higher education, is now available on Amazon. Welcome back, everybody. It's your time to EdUp on the EdUp Experience podcast, where we make education your business. Dr. Joe Salustio back again and again. You guys, I'm going to be honest with you right now to the audience. I know you're listening. I know you love to EdUp and listen to these podcasts, and thank you for your support. I've just returned from a 7-day vacation in the Dominican Republic. I haven't podcasted for like 14 days, which is an all-time record since we released our first episode on January 25th, 2020. So I'm actually a little bit nervous today to get back on because I'm fumbling over my words. I was practicing my intro. I had a whole soapbox thing I was going to say. There is a lot going on. See, I already just did it. There's a lot going on in higher education right now. If you've been watching the news, Supreme Court says no loan forgiveness, affirmative action in race-based admissions got kind of shot down. We're talking about an era of record low confidence in higher education. And you know what I say to all that? I say, what a great time to be an innovator in higher ed when our consumers are telling us that the old way of doing things isn't working for them anymore and they're not confident in what we're doing. So what an opportunity to change, what an opportunity to be an innovator and regain the public's trust in higher education, which we are all responsible for doing. And we're not going to do it alone. We have to do it together. And speaking of together, you know that I wrote a book called Commencement, the Beginning of a New Era in Higher Education, along with my co-authors, Kate Colbert, Elvin Freitas. And we profiled 125 presidents that we interviewed on this podcast. And it is always an honor, and I mean it truly, when I can bring one of those 125 presidents back on this podcast to sit on the other side of the microphone with me, grilling a guest. And we're going to do that in this case. And here is my co-host. He is the one and only, and I mean this, he's the one and only. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Michael Ciosi. He's the president at Rowan College at Burlington County. What's up, Michael? How are you?
Joe, good to see you. I don't see any rust despite your 14-day layover. So yeah, you sound amazing. You look even better than you sound. So
that's a fact. That's a fact.
Thanks for letting me be on the other side and ride along with you as we get to meet another college president.
And I didn't, usually I tell my guests that I use sound effects within my episodes, and I forgot to do that. But you just heard, I've got sound effects for everything. So I'm gonna say amazing things. I'm gonna hit a button that says amazing. Michael's gonna say okay things. I'm gonna hit a button that says okay for him.
Whoa.
Well, we'll see what happens. As I said, I got buttons for everything. Let's bring our guest in because there is nothing better, and I mean nothing better, that we can do with this platform than give voice and opportunity to college leaders who are leading institutions that need and want visibility amongst the higher ed community. These are leaders and these are institutions that you need to know about. And so we're glad we can bring people to the microphone to tell you about the good work that they're doing. And here he is, ladies and gents. He is Manoj Patil. He is president at the Little Priest Tribal College. Manoj, what's going on?
Hello, Joe and Mike. First of all, thank you very much for having me. Just like you had a small vacation, I just returned from India for from a 3-week vacation / some work as well, personal work, and glad to be back. As Mike said, you don't look rusty or you sound rusty, so nice to be
face
here.
Made for radio, as they say, guys. all three of us. We're and I mean that with great respect and love for you guys. Manoj, let's start at the beginning. Tell us about Little Priest Tribal College. What do you do and how do you do it?
Okay. My name is Manoj Patil. I'm the president at Little Priest Tribal College. I'm on my 4th year here as the college president. I joined here as vice president of academic affairs in 2018. Prior to that, I was a faculty member, chemistry faculty member for 15 years in another institution. This is pretty unique So just an exposure to all audience here. There are 35 tribal colleges across United States. There's a couple more coming up, so we may have 37 pretty soon. Little Priest Tribal College is located on the Winnebago Reservation in Northeast Nebraska, Thurston County. It was chartered in 1996 by the Winnebago Tribe of Nebraska. And this Higher Learning Commission gave us the candidacy in 1998.
Amazing.
So, this is the first time. This is the first opportunity for us to celebrate. We are celebrating 25 years on September 15th of this year. And we are celebrating not only, this is a 25-year celebration, but we also had some recent success, huge success, I would say. Starting from today, we actually has the first major construction project started today. So so we are having a lot of parking issues, which is the best thing I can think. I always say, without dust, without trash, without noise, a college cannot succeed. So we have all three today. And we are also celebrating the highest enrollment ever. We are also celebrating the highest graduation ever. And we also have the highest number of programs ever. So all coming together. And personally, as Mike would vouch for it, we also completed as a cohort a one-year fellowship with Aspen Institute. So that's kind of
amazing.
Yeah, there's a lot to celebrate in there, my friend. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I was thinking, I was looking at your background a little bit, and I was going, a master's in chemical and natural gas engineering. There's no sure way to a presidency than that, right? Getting a master's in chemical and gas engineering. How does this happen for you? How do you get to the role of president from, so you're teaching faculty? I mean, what a specialty you have. And you just go, you know what? I'm going to be a college president.
This is something I even first day in the Aspen fellowship, they asked us this question: why did you become a president? How did you become a president? And actually, it's a pretty sad story. Because I moved to United States on January 1st of 2001. My passport says 010101, and for
That's
my
pretty cool, actually.
Chemical and petroleum and natural gas engineering at Texas A&M. And as we all know, 9/11 happened that year, September of 2001. So I never wanted to be in higher ed, had no interest whatsoever. And I had huge offers from big companies like ExxonMobil and all those companies. And was all ready to, finish my graduation and join one of these companies. So I went back to India for a month vacation in 2001 December. Came back to a complete shock that the companies have been told not to process my work visa.
Yikes!
Yeah, a big yikes actually. So I had only a couple of choices. One is to go back to India. So 3 of my friends got deported back to India, and or find a non-engineering position where they would process my work visa. So I was looking for anything to stay in the United States. I had no intention to go back. And I heard about a teaching position at Western Iowa Tech Community College in Sioux City, Iowa. It was in September 2002. And within a very few days, I was offered the position. And I took that position. I flew from Houston to Sioux City, Iowa, not knowing what's going to happen to my career, my future. But I just knew that I had to feed myself, and I had to, make some money. First year was the toughest. I had no idea. I was always good in chemistry, so that really helped me to be a chemistry teacher. But an engineering degree does not help you in chemistry position. But luckily, I did well. Kept looking for a position in engineering, did not happen. Then I decided to continue my teaching career. And in 2008 was a turning point. Either I wanted to quit teaching, go back to PhD in chemical engineering, or start my own company. And me and my wife decided to go the entrepreneurial route and started my company called New Horizon Tutoring.
Epic.
And since then, I've been doing that as a founder and CEO for 15 years. We have thousands of students. We have graduated in ACT, SAT prep, placed students in Harvard, all the way to UCLA across the nation. And that is actually one of the reasons I would say that led me to a vice president position was when I was teaching chemistry and running this company, people in my Siouxland area, this is what we call the Siouxland area, started knowing me. And I was referred to this vice president position. Hey, are you interested to move up? You have the leadership skills, you have built your own company, this school needs some help. And I actually was in the situation where I really wanted to quit higher ed and just focus on the business. Business was doing really well at the time, but there was so much of higher ed in me, I just couldn't quit. And I decided to negotiate with the college and say, you know what, I'm ready to take this position, but no caveats that I had to close this company. They're like, no, you do what you want. And they gave me full freedom. And that
gotta own your side hustle.
Exactly. And it's my baby, so I can't let it go. I put literally sweat, tears and blood into this. And 2019 November. So I joined here in August 2018. And so after 2019 November, my boss, my president was put on leave and all those things. And I was made the interim president. And 6 months after the national search, I was made the full-time president. So that's my route. It's a long story, but I think it's worth sharing it because it's not usual story. So sorry if it's too long and boring.
No, it's good. And I'm going to bring Michael, I want to bring you in, but I do want to just say, out of all of that very impressive story, the one thing that sticks out right at the end, as you say, because you're there at the college, after a 6-month national search, you're there already, but it took 6 months to get through that search. Nobody like higher ed can take a really long time to make a decision they were going to make in the first place, right? It's like you got to go through these really long periods of time and you know what could have happened in that 6 months had they made a faster decision. How, you just think about that kind of stuff. But what an incredible story, Michael. I want to hand it over to you.
Yeah, no, I think Joe led off at the front end of how much is changing and how much needs to change in higher ed. And these are hard jobs. I think your story of how you got there is all pre-COVID, right? So in the last 4 years, you've been president. What has changed since accepting the job after all of those sort of trials and tribulations, and now here we are, it's 2023, and a lot has changed between your first day and the middle of July. So what how has it been for you, Manoj?
Thank you, Mike. Actually a great question. I'm very particular about dates, so this is something you guys need to know as well. So we had a focus visit from Higher Learning Commission in Feb of 2020. And that was one of the reasons why they had hired me to fix the accreditation issues we had and stuff like that. So November 2019, I take the interim position. 3 months later, we have this visit from Higher Learning Commission. And we all know how it feels to go through an accreditation visit.
Nailed it.
Not fun at all. But for the first time in college's history, we actually met all core components of Higher Learning Commission. Then March 17th of 2020, as we all know, and Mike, I don't know if you were present at the time or not, but we made the decision to close our campuses due to COVID pandemic. And then during that month, I had the final interviews for this position. So I was offered April 20th of 2020, the president's position. Couldn't have happened, right? It's like all was happening in 3 months, and you could imagine the stress levels were off the charts. Employees were on an edge. And work from home happened. Students were freaking out, especially in tribal nations. The internet is the connectivity is so low. But you know what? We managed it. And we were one of the few colleges across the nation who came back to campus because we talked to students and they told us that online education is not going well for them. We had the highest drop in completion rates, like many other colleges, of course, that semester. So, but honestly speaking, COVID-19 was a blessing in disguise for almost all colleges, especially for tribal colleges, because we got a huge pot of funding, which we had never seen. That money really helped us jumpstart, increased our infrastructure. We are still offering free tuition since the day one of the COVID pandemic.
Excellent.
And that is what, and I'm not saying that's the only reason, but that might be one of the reasons why our enrollment peaked in fall 2022. And we had the highest enrollment in fall 2022, highest spring enrollment in 2022, and highest summer enrollment this summer. So, and within the last 3 years of my presidency, we have doubled the number of programs from 6 to 13. And that's another reason why our enrollment increased. So the pandemic stress got to me, like many presidents had to do. My assistant passed away.
Oh, I'm going to take back my sound effect.
My assistant passed away. She was the only one of our employees who passed away, and she was very close to me. And she was only 40 years old, died because of COVID. So dealing with this, such a small community where everybody knows everybody, it was very hard. And to, at the same time, to help the students navigate the online system. And so we created what's called a high flex system, where we could have students watch the video, log into the video system. And boy, that really saved a lot of headaches for us, because we had students across Arizona, Georgia, who are able to now take the classes as well. And that we have invested $250,000 plus into that. And now that is another reason why our enrollment is going up, is now we can attract students from different tribes and different colleges across in areas across US. I also had a personal scare due to a COVID vaccine situation last year, April 2022. I had a blood clot in my leg because they thought I had a vaccine reaction, it seems. Again, don't know that, but personally went through some tough times as well. So it has been a roller coaster, to say the least, but I have some real good news to you guys. So our construction starts today for parking lot. That has not been done for years, maybe 2 decades. We had huge issues with that one. So we got some grants to write that. And through the COVID funds, we are actually just closed our bid yesterday to build a $6 million science building.
All right. Well, that was impressive.
And this is the first time in the college's history for maybe 10, 15, 20 years, we have any big construction going on, because we don't have the funds. And might be the tallest building on the reservation when it's all done.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
While I had to live through, I'm suffering some PTSD as you were walking us through the March 2020 to current. It definitely sounds like there's a lot of exciting stuff. So I guess for the 8 million EdUp listeners, Manoj, what would you what's something that you would sort of maybe share? So you referenced how we know each other. You referenced the Aspen Fellowship. So like, what is that for those listeners that might not be familiar, and why did we meet there? What did you learn there? What was your takeaways from there? How does it affect what you're doing at Little Creast?
So 2 years back, or maybe 3 years back, I got an email of a nomination from College Excellence Program from one of my mentors, and they had nominated me. And I always knew about Aspen Institute. I was actually worked on Aspen Institute, Aspen Prize in my previous institution as a committee member. So always knew about it. So when they nominated me, I tried to learn about the College Excellence Program. I decided to apply, as Mike could attest to this, that it's a long application with 5 essays and the whole shebang. The board has to approve your nomination and all those things. And then After you pass the first round, then there's an interview process by the Aspen members, and then you get selected. So first year, I came to the finalist, but I got rejected.
Really?
Yep, really. But second year, I also got nominated. Again, I got nominated by different fellows. One who is one of my biggest respect I have is Dr. Karen Stout, who is a CEO of the ATD and also a faculty advisor at the Aspen Institute. When she nominated me, just the nomination meant so much to me. And then I got selected. We were in what's called the NPF 3, New Presidents Fellowship Cohort number 3, and they selected 24 presidents. And Mike was one of my, not only is in the cohort, but we were in the same group as well. It's been 1 year fellowship. We just finished in June 3rd in Aspen, Colorado. The biggest thing is I loved it, how it was structured, how well it was done. But the real thing I took away from this is they don't believe in status quo. They believe in taking risk, and they believe in transformative actions. And they have the framework 1.0, 2.0, and 3.0. And I do believe 3.0 is what we need. I'm working on, and it just coincided very well with the Aspen training. So now I have come back more energized, more hopeful, and have a game plan because they have given us a roadmap and how to be a successful president and how to be a transformational leader. And I can't stress enough anybody who's a new president, this is the one fellowship you want to be in, because you're going to change as a person, you're going to change as a president.
I like your style, dude.
No, I'll co-sign that. I'll co-sign that 100%. And since you're so good on dates, you shared with us, 01/01/01, the date you became president, the date COVID happened. You should probably share with the audience that you have all of these dates tattooed, and your newest tattoo is going to be July 12th, 2023, the day that you were on the EdUp podcast with.
Bullseye.
It is. It's ingrained in my memory already. So
Attaboy.
You better believe it is. You better believe it.
I was telling my wife, and they came to town at 2 a.m. and she's like, "Could you take a day off and just spend some time? It's been a while. Kids were complaining." I said, "I would, but I can't miss this." So I would rather take it from my office than at home, where it's quiet and I can spend some time.
Nailed it.
You know that the world of higher education is experiencing evolutions and revolutions. You want to be part of the progress. Commencement, the beginning of a new era in higher education with insights from more than 100 college and university presidents, will show you how. Get your copy of Commencement, the beginning of a new era in higher education now on Amazon right away. We think you're going to love it. It's
Amazing.
Well, I'll tell you what. These are, you guys are doing, Michael, you said it, this is hard work, right? Being a college president is hard work. It's gotten harder, not easier. I could say that with certainty because I've talked to many of those in your chair, and nobody goes, wow, the job's so much easier than it used to be. It's so much harder because of COVID, but also because of the things that I mentioned at the beginning. We're having a lot of disruption in higher ed, Manoj, and I have to ask you, because if you're seeing enrollment gains and you're seeing geographical gain in getting your message out there, that is not what most of higher ed is seeing. They're seeing enrollment losses, huge deficits. I mean, West Virginia University is in the news quite a bit. Their president, Gordon Gee, they're cutting academic programs, they're laying off staff. They've got a $45 million budget deficit they've got to figure out. That is more common than uncommon right now. What's more uncommon is enrollment growth. How do you achieve that? Without giving us the secret sauce, what are one or two things that you could offer that you just go, you know what, guys, here's a couple of tips. If you want to get your enrollment up, here's a couple things you just got to do.
I will take the secret sauce, though. No,
yeah, me too, by the way.
There is secret sauce because we could go sell it. But
honestly speaking, every community is different. So we are a community college president, so you have to understand the community really well. If you don't know your community, you're going to have trouble. Second, you have to be extremely strategic about financing and budgeting. And that's something we learned in the Aspen Fellowship as well, strategic financing and strategic budgeting, to really dive into budget and not to, I should not use the word waste, not to flounder on monies if you have received, and to build a strong employee group. See, I always listen to Steve Jobs, and one of the statements he has made, and I use the same with my company, in my private company as well, is you hire smart people and let them tell you what you should do, and don't hire people and tell them what to do.
Nailed it.
And that's what we are doing. So my senior administration, one for the vice president of finance comes from Wall Street, for example. He used to work, and we never had a vice president position, but I created one, talked to the board, and why am I doing it? And then hiring the right person, knowing your community is crucial, and then watching completion, tracking data like a hawk. And another thing, and Mike, I do not know what you guys do at your school, but one of the things our school has always struggled is in completion, because we have dev ed courses. And I actually just had a meeting with my vice president yesterday. So fall 2025, I've given her a final deadline. Fall 2025, we won't have any dev ed courses at the college, because if we cannot focus on completion, eventually access is going to get hurt, because people are going to spin the wheel and they'll run out of a Pell. And so I feel completion leads to better access. And I think as a college president, we need to be very clear in your messaging about why you have to come here and how we're going to help you go from A to B to C. And as I said in Aspen 3.0 framework, is it's not just about completing here. Then what happens after completion? Are we having guided pathways for 4-year schools and stuff like that? So for example, what I did was in 2018, when I was the vice president, I looked into data and found out why our students who do transfer are not graduated with a bachelor's degree. Wayne State College is 30 miles from here, and that's our major transfer institution. And I found out they had used up all their Pell in their 4th year of their for their bachelor's program. So I was like, okay, well, I talked to Wayne State and said, you know what? We may not send you a whole lot of students, but whoever we send, if we can give a free tuition to them, because our poverty is such a huge thing in Native communities, and they have used up all their Pell here, you may have more graduates from Wayne State. And now, last year, 2022, May, Wayne State had the highest graduating Indigenous group ever in their history, and all were from Little Priest. Only because we had the now free tuition. So they have free tuition here, they have free tuition there. So we are providing better access at all levels, which is leading to better completion rates. But data helped me convince the board at the Wayne State why they should be providing free tuition. It's called Native American Community College Grant.
Love that. Michael, you want to jump in?
Yeah, no, I think, Joe said it best. Like these jobs have gotten harder. There's continued disinvestment at the state level, and that's forced many of us to have to rethink. So I think some of the stuff that you're doing at Little Priest Tribal College is amazing, because you definitely sound like a unicorn, right? Like as an East Coaster, there's a whole lot of hand-to-hand combat, especially in New Jersey. And on the developmental front, I mean, the challenge is, look at who's graduating. High school graduates that just walked across the stage a couple weeks ago spent 2 years behind screens. The students that are going to graduate next June will have spent 2 years behind screens because of COVID. And how the learning loss affected this year's senior class versus next year's senior class. But that's one subset of the student body that comes to our campuses. We are not exclusively beholden to traditional 18-year-olds. I mean, you talked about the communities that we exist in, right? What's the demography of your student body, right? Like for me, I know it's not all 18-year-olds. We run from 18 to 88 and everywhere in between, but tell us about what the student body looks like on your campus.
Very typical, many community colleges, especially for tribal colleges, we have 65 to 35 female to male ratio. It used to be, actually, when I took over as president, it was 76 to 24. So the reason it is going towards higher male enrollment is we started a cannabis studies program, which is an associate of applied science where you get in the workforce. So we were losing a lot of male students at our community because these male students want a workforce program. And honestly, we don't have career tech programs. It's a small college. We don't have a land space. But again, we use that as a reason to talk to the tribal council. And in my first year of presidency, during the COVID, first semester of COVID, the tribal council gave us 10 acres right in front of our campus. They added 10 acres on top of our campus. So we tripled the size of the campus like this. So because we showed them what we're going to do. So 2 years later, I went back in December to tell tribal council what we have done with the 10 acres. So we designed a master plan. And the first building that's going to be built, I do not know when, hopefully we can raise funds eventually, is a career tech building, which is going to cost us $6 to $7 million to build a building to implement like HVAC, plumbing, electrical, construction type of programs. So I can attract more male students who otherwise are getting into more legal trouble, drug addiction, alcohol addictions. So get them off the street and bring them to campus, because now I can provide workforce programs.
Here's the plan.
So that's the goal of in the future. But right now, our students are majority of them are non-traditional students. I do not know, Mike, what is your? So we do get some traditional students, but that's a very small percentage compared to the non-traditionals. But I'm observing the average age of the student actually has been decreasing, which is kind of not so true in other colleges. But so we are attracting major high school students who are graduating without a break come here. And we're also using our dual credits system to attract students directly come to the college as well. So I'm seeing a small drop in the average age of the student, but still, I would say if I had to pick a number of the average age of the student in spring semester would be around 27.
Manoj, what do you think about all the talk around the confidence in higher ed? And I want to ask you, because it's like we have this self-fulfilling prophecy. If you look at all the journalists in higher ed or those that are thought leaders, whatever that means, you know, when you put up an article that says confidence is being reduced in higher ed and here's all the problems, and then you multiply that by 10 others or 15 others that post that same article, eventually the public sees that and goes, oh, wow, higher ed's a mess. And we just don't see a lot of articles that go, oh, wow, look at all the great things going on in higher ed. Oh, wow, look at this, look at that. Not in the same, you know, because we love negative press. You know, so something negative just goes so much further than the positive stuff. What do you make of that? Are you seeing in your community a lack of confidence in higher ed?
Absolutely not. And I do agree to your comment, negative news goes faster than positive news. So we as presidents have to do a better job in getting the media out. And honestly speaking, there is so much political bias into higher ed right now. I don't want to get into the nitty-gritty details, but that is so untrue that higher ed is losing its value. Yet the higher ed dynamics is changing more towards workforce and stuff like that. But imagine if I'm a high school graduate who's now going to go to work in McDonald's for $18 an hour. The same student, let's say, gets an associate degree in, let's say, plumbing. I'm not going to make $18 an hour. I'm going to make $50 an hour. So, but we as presidents, we are not sharing our stories. We are not sharing our success as clear as a negative news is, because so we are allowing the political environment and political landscape in the country to take over, and which is camouflaging all the good news we are having. I can guarantee Mike has enough students, success students he can share, and he's going to say, hey, I took this student from at the age of 18, now he's at age 20, he's already making this much amount. We have to bombard the news media with positive news and allow the political landscape to dilute itself. But
Yes.
But before that happens, we all have to be on the same page as the college leaders. And if there is there is what, 3,800 colleges and universities across the US. So there's a small pool of people called 3,800 presidents. If we all get together and have a big media release and presidents sign a document saying that that's not true, and talk about it, so that we fight back. That's the word I'm using. We fight back. So, but if we give up to the political landscape, that this is what's going to be, we're going to have a nosedive like we have never seen before. At my private company, it's the opposite time. We are actually having more students apply to Ivy League schools and stuff like that. So why? Because they know the value of education. Because I, who as the founder and CEO, will go out and vouch for it. I talk about it. So I'm in the Chamber Board of Directors, and I made a presentation last August about what happens if you don't do it. If we don't, and when they saw the data, they're like, wow, higher ed does not. At the end of the day, we need more doctors, more engineers, more nurses, and we cannot have a nurse without a college degree. We cannot have a doctor with a college degree. We can try it. Good luck. But I'm from India, who have done extensive study schooling, and I can tell you, India is going the other way around. I was just there for 3 weeks, and now they're promoting more graduate school, more PhDs, because they want specialization. So if US has to have the edge like they always had. I came to US for one reason. There's one word answer, is research. Because all I read in my undergrad was US did this research. They had the best distillation columns ever. They had the best this. That attracted me here. There's 3.5 million Indians here right now. And these are one of the smartest group of people coming here. Why? Because US has the edge like no country has it. And we have to regain that through research and education.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
Go ahead, Michael.
I think, where we started, look, if it bleeds, it leads, right? So that's why it's so easy for negative stories to sort of jump to the top. I think Joe is single-handedly going to get all 3,800 college and university presidents.
We're working on it.
So we'll get a document in front of them, Manoj, and I'll sign it, and I'm sure you'll sign it. But I think what the old saying is, all politics are local. So, back to the communities we exist in, right? Why you're doing what you're doing, why I'm doing what I'm doing, and why so many of us in higher ed, writ large, are doing what we're doing, is to make that impact in the transformation of lives. So I think anytime I get an opportunity, and if you look at our social media, it's about the students. No one wants to see my dumb face. So it's about students. If I can keep the cost down, if I can put pressure, if you can put that's where we have to use our platforms. The textbook people, we got to get the cost down over there. If you're a residential campus, those costs are out of control. Locally, one of the big Philadelphia schools and one of the big New Jersey schools on the news this morning announced their tuition increases for the year. So freshmen have to confirm in May, and they just got told that an increase is going up 6, 7, 8%. And you want to know what that increase is being fueled by? Salaries, healthcare, cost of living, like wraparound stuff. So how are certain institutions responding? They're passing it on to their students. So you want to talk about like cyclical stuff that makes no sense? That makes no sense to me. Whereas we're trying to keep the cost. What's beautiful about our sector is the affordability is there. So when you see these apples to watermelon comparisons about what something cost, or, I think Senator Warren was getting dragged for what she paid in tuition 100 years ago versus now. That's an unfair example, because once you start caveating things, you better just keep on caveating them. So it's like the students that we have in front of us today are the students that we have to worry about. The students that are enrolling with us today are not the student I was, or the student you were, Manoj or Joe. It's about trying to be proactive, right? What are the employment needs in your community next year, 2 years from now, 3 years from now? And a cannabis degree, 10 years ago, you would have probably been laughed at, right? Like it wasn't legal, it wasn't cool, it was a gateway drug, blah, blah, blah. And here you are, you have a program, and many states have gone that route. And that's just one example. So, the other thing I keep fighting my folks on, it's July. Why does my campus look like, why is there tumbleweeds blowing through? And they're like, well, because we follow the agrarian calendar that our great grandfathers did. And you go in the fall, you go in the spring, and then you go work on the farm in the summer. And I was like, we don't have any farmers in New Jersey. That's not true. There's farmers in New Jersey, but we're not a farming based economy anymore. So what the time to degree and what can we influence, and when does Pell Grants disperse, and when does the FAFSA become available, and how long should a term be? 15 weeks, 7 weeks, 2 weeks, flexible, not flexible? You reference high flex. There's so much stuff that are available to us, but yet we're still following this sort of isomorphic, this is how our great grandfathers did it, which it's like we should be trying to buck those trends as much as we can, where it makes sense.
Michael, I want to just say real fast, agree with everything that you just said. The calendar is one of the most dusty things in higher education ever, and you try to move that calendar and it just sends everybody into a frenzy because we are adverse to change, but the consumer is telling us we need to change. Manoj, I want to give you enough time. We've got about 10 minutes left, but I want to end with you, ask you the final two questions. Anything else you want to say? The first is simply this. What do you want to say about Little Priest Tribal College? Anything that we missed, open microphone for you to say whatever you want. And then number two is you get to finish. What do you see for the future of higher education?
Okay. Little Priest Tribal College is a growing institution. I'm grateful for the support of the community and the Tribal Council. And there's a big misconception that tribal colleges are only for Native students, and that it couldn't be, more far from the truth. We have students from, natives, non-natives, anybody is welcome to. And we are offering free tuition still, and we plan to offer for at least 3 more years. So that is a big deal, because our students, poverty is such a high thing here. So if we can help them somehow reduce the cost of higher education, that's what Mike was talking about, it's going to benefit them. Once they get the degree, they can get higher wages, their family is more stable. See, that's all. It's just a vicious cycle. When you have a better salary and wages, everything somehow falls in place. That's why we have to work hard. And one of the other things Mike talked about is basically keeping it low cost. And that's where community college versus university starts to differentiate, is we as community college should not follow the private for-profit or bigger public school, region schools, because if we follow that trend, then we will have tough time answering to senators and representatives why we are doing this. So I'm trying my best to keep our cost low. So even if we actually proposed to board last month a 2% increase, but the board said no, we won't accept it, because with poverty so high, we don't want students to even dip into Pell as much as possible. I said, you know what? I understand our board members are Winnebago members. I understand, so we backed it off from that. So again, but Little Priest Tribal College is growing. It's really is and I want to welcome anybody to visit us. As if you're a student, take classes. We offer online, HighFlex, all set of modalities. And about the future of higher education, don't want to sugarcoat it, but I'm very concerned, especially coming back from India, where, you know, when I went to my school and engineering schools and visited there, and what is happening there. And when I came to United States, what was happening at that time to now, I'm definitely concerned. We need political support. The politicians must talk about the positives of higher ed. I'm not saying that we are perfect. We have things to improve. We should start doing more micro credentialing and all those things. But instead of giving a negative connotation to this, we should give a positive connotation. But we should be able to do this. But I'm definitely worried. And if you're in urban community college, like where Mike is in, like a state of New Jersey in East Coast, and where I'm more worried for them than we are here, because we at least have a base, what I call the strong base of, and I'm surrounded by 5 other colleges, by the way, in 30-mile radius. So there is enough competition as well, but we also have a base I can work with. So for them, they have to fight for every student to keep up the enrollment. But I can guarantee, if you can show completion rates and shows the success these students are having as a part of your marketing strategy, access will improve. But if you only focus on access, higher education will fall apart eventually in next 1 or 2 decades. And where I think there won't be any K-13 onwards. There will be like K through maybe K-14, and that's it. Because everything is dropping. The number of students coming from international is dropping. It just increased back this year. But we have to talk about the positives and reduce or keep the education at an affordable cost, so that we graduate and help more students have a living wages.
Well, one of the ways we're going to keep the conversation going is here on the EdUp Experience, of course, where we will talk about the challenges, we will talk about the necessity of change, but we will talk about the great work that our college presidents and other higher ed leaders are doing, because it exists. And if we don't talk about it, it's too easy not to recognize it. We need to recognize the hard work that we do. It's noble, and we change lives for the better. Just ask somebody who has a college degree that's working in their field making money, and they'll tell you how valuable their college degree was. One person that I know is valuable is my co-host. He's back. He's back, baby, and he's never leaving. Here he is, Dr. Michael Ciosi. He's president of Rowan College of Burlington County. Michael, how'd you feel about your first guest hosting gig here?
It was awesome. We did some town halls on Facebook, like every week during COVID. So I was telling folks last night and yesterday and all week, I said I'm getting back on the horse, baby, and I'm gonna hang out with Joe and get to see a good friend of mine who's gonna be we're gonna be fellows for life. You know, we've sat at the same table, we spent some serious time together. So Joe, I appreciate the invite, and it was great to catch up with my friend Manoj. So he's doing cool stuff. And best of luck on this fall semester in front of us.
Well, Michael called me out on the podcast, myself, and of course, co-founder of the EdUp Experience, Alvin Freitas, to interview all 3,800 college presidents across the nation. We're 230 something in now, maybe 231 now with Manoj, getting him crossed off our list. Ladies and gentlemen, my guest today, your guest today, he is Manoj Patil, and he is the president of Little Priest Tribal College. Manoj, we hope you had a good time, and that you get to go home and see your wife and kids immediately, because I feel bad now that if that was even partly true, that you came in for us.
No, this is very important. And first of all, thank you, Joe and Mike, for this. This is as I mentioned to start off with, the exposure Little Priest had in the last 20 years at least, has been so low. And and I'm trying my hardest to talk about. I'm not saying we're perfect. Nobody's perfect, but there is so much happening at the college. There's enough challenges as well, but we're going against it, fixing the challenges and progressing the school. So thank you for giving us an opportunity to share about the college and my personal journey. And I really appreciate it, and look forward to working with you guys in future.
It's been an honor, my friend. Ladies and gentlemen, you know what you've done. You've just EdUp'd. It's time to
level up.
The beginning of a new era in higher education begins with you. Order your copy of Commencement, The Beginning of a New Era in Higher Education by Kate Colbert, Dr. Joe Salustio, with contributions by Elvin Freitas. It's higher education's must-read book of 2022. Discover how you can seize the moment to change higher education forever. Commencement, The Beginning of a New Era in Higher Education, now available on Amazon. For bulk orders, contact Kate, Joe, or Elvin